Piers Morgan, who it should be noted is a Brit, which means he doesn't quite understand the freedoms we enjoy here in this country. Certainly not the Second Amendment freedom to protect oneself and defend oneself, loved ones, and property with a firearm. It's enshrined in our Second Amendment in our Constitution. They got nothing like that in the UK. That's why the government banned private ownership of guns. Oh, sure, some people have shotguns to kill pheasants if you live at the manor house. But beyond that, no, you're not allowed to have a gun in England. And Piers thinks it should be that way across the board. He had Kyle Rittenhouse on his show yesterday, and watch how he bullied poor Kyle.
You killed 2 people and you wounded a 3rd. How do you feel about that?
Well, Piers, they attacked me. They left me with no choice. I have nightmares every night of being attacked and being ambushed and them trying to steal my gun and pointing guns at my face. It's not an easy thing to do, but I did what I had to do to stay alive. And if I didn't, I would be dead.
Yeah, listen, you were acquitted, and many in America believe that you had the absolute right to defend yourself. I'm just curious.
I would pause there for a minute because that's a remarkable turn of phrase there. Many in America believe that you have the right to defend yourself. I would hope that everyone in America, but actually, I would hope that everyone in England agrees that we have a right to defend ourselves. That's kind of a basic human right, isn't it? That you have the right to defend yourself. Let's look at the contrary of this. I would love to ask Piers if he believes that Kyle Rittenhouse or any of us have a right to defend themselves, if Piers Morgan has a right to defend himself. Because if you don't believe that someone has the inherent right to defend themselves, it means that you're in favor of the strong being able to kill the weak. You don't have a right to defend yourself, so I'm going to pummel you in the face until you're dead, and you can't fight back. That's the logical conclusion to this warped immoral philosophy that Piers Morgan is just offhandedly, yeah, many in America believe that you have the right to defend yourself. No, pretty much all of us think we have the right to defend ourselves, you moral idiot. The only debate is to what extent and using what kind of tools to defend yourself. All right, let's go back here.
Be dead.
Yeah, listen, you were acquitted, and many in America believe that you had the absolute right to defend yourself. I'm just curious, on a human level, you're very young even now. What are you, 20 years old now?
Yes, sir.
And you've killed 2 human beings and wounded a 3rd. I just wonder how that feels.
I don't think that's an appropriate question to ask how it feels. It's not an easy thing to do. It's something I live with every single day. It's nightmares I have. It's something that I have to deal with. I have to deal with the PTSD and the trauma from having to do that.
Right. I mean, but it seems to me your emotions are more about you and your trauma because your life was being threatened and that side of it, rather than the question I'm asking, which is simply on a human level, how do you feel about being so young and yet having on the record for the rest of your life now that you took the lives of 2 people, regardless of the circumstances?
And like I just said, it's something I deal with every day. I deal with the PTSD and the trauma and the nightmares. It's not easy to deal with it.
Yeah. Couple of things here. First of all, you can't just offhandedly say regardless of the circumstances. No, it's all about the circumstances. Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't have been in that position in the first place if it weren't for the lawlessness that was going on that night in Wisconsin. And he only defended himself because his life was threatened, as a jury agreed, a jury of his peers. So you can't just say regardless of the circumstances. I do love the fact that Piers Morgan of all people, sitting on a set with his name scrolling behind him on an every 3-second basis, accuses Kyle Rittenhouse of making it all about himself. Piers Morgan, the king of making it all about himself. But finally, and I think more importantly, I would ask Piers Morgan, how do you feel about those 18, 19, 20-year-old young British soldiers who went to the continent on D-Day in World War II and killed Nazis to liberate France and the rest of Europe and to protect England during World War II? I mean, the way you're talking, they didn't have the right to do that. They were also like Kyle Rittenhouse, 19, 20 years old. They were young. Yeah, they had to have those deaths on their conscience, but the only way that you live with those deaths is knowing that your cause was right and moral, and it had to be done for the freedom and safety of so many others. That's kind of basic. But it's a thought that's lost on Piers Morgan in particular, because Google this, it's the truth. Back during the Iraq War, he was so vehemently against Britain's engagement in Iraq that he fabricated a story allegedly showing British soldiers committing atrocities in that war. The pictures were phony. They were fake, but he went to press with them anyway because he had an agenda that didn't include the truth. And it just so happens that that agenda undermined the efforts of young men, just like Kyle Rittenhouse, who were wearing the uniform of the British military, who were lawfully engaged in a war that Piers Morgan just didn't agree with. And if Piers Morgan doesn't agree with it, it's okay to lie and fabricate because, the agenda is more important.